everybody? Welcome to Locked On Heat. I'm Wes Goldberg here in my hotel room from Las Vegas. Got a special episode for you today. It is a crossover episode with 5 Reasons Sports' Ethan Skolnick. A lot of you have been asking for crossovers with us before. Maybe you thought it would never happen. It happened. It happened here in Las Vegas. Ethan and I got together from Thomas & Mack Center after Erik Spoelstra lit into Kel'el Ware after Miami's practice here on Saturday morning. Ethan and I were both there for the practice. We heard Erik Spoelstra talk about Kel'el Ware, challenging Kel'el Ware, calling Kel'el Ware out, frankly, for needing to be more professional, just need to show more professionalism. So Ethan and I get into all of that, plus a lot more of what Erik Spoelstra had to say, which hints at a clear direction for this organization that Heat fans may or may not like. So you're not going to want to miss this. Enjoy.
You are Locked On Heat, your daily Miami Heat podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to the latest episode of 5 on the Floor, crossover episode from Las Vegas, the Summer League 2025. We'll get into the sponsors later. I'm here with Wes Goldberg. You can follow him at Locked On Heat, of course, daily podcast. So yes, we got a little. This is like Anchorman.
It's like Anchorman when they all try to fight each other.
Right, exactly.
I didn't bring any weapons.
You didn't bring David either.
I didn't bring David, who's the
I don't
greatest weapon of all.
have Alex Brady or Greg.
It's a little bit. David would call it like a Marvel universe meets like Capcom something. He would bring comic books.
That's all way over my head. Yep. But we're here at the arena at Thomas & Mack Center, and both of you and I were at the Erik Spoelstra press availability today, which I just want to give some context on, and then we'll go through some of the things he said. Most people are going to be talking about what he said about Kel'el Ware, which was clearly the most interesting thing. But just to get into why it happened in the first place, Spoelstra's not here every summer. And Anthony Chang and I think you had gotten up for a minute. We were sitting on the baseline yesterday or whatever it was, not the 11th. And Ira had gotten up as well. The four of us are all out covering. And Spo came over, spoke to Anthony and I for like 3 minutes. And then he said, yeah, I guess I'll talk to you guys tomorrow. So we weren't even counting on this. They had a practice today. We're talking to you here on Saturday. They had a practice today at their hotel in the ballroom and the tents. And Spoelstra came out and spoke to us. And not only did he speak to us, he spoke for 17 minutes, which is a long time for him.
Yep.
You know, sometimes it's one question and then, oh, I can leave and I'm out of here. And he had a message. And it wasn't the first question, because the first question Ira asked was about Andrew Wiggins. Spoelstra talked about wanting him to get more comfortable as a human being, as a person with the whole organization, not just on the floor. But then Anthony asked about Kel'el Ware. And I'm going to say this as somebody who is very old and has been around the team for a long time and was here when Spoelstra started coaching the team in 2008. I've only heard him call out one player publicly like that in the entire time that he's been coaching the Miami Heat. And that was Hassan Whiteside, sometime around 2017. The arm gestures, the very direct speaking about he needs to be more professional, I thought he was going to deflect after Ware's like sort of low effort, low energy performance of the Summer League game where they gave up 20 offensive rebounds, and he did exactly the opposite.
There's 2 ways that he could have gone about it. The first way would have been deflect, cliche, move on to the next question, right? Say something along the lines of, Kel'el knows what's expected of him. He's going to work harder. We expect big things from him going into the season. End of answer, right? But to your point, he was almost champing at the bit to get that question. He was very ready for that question. And so Anthony asks it, and he goes, okay. And you're like, oh, no, he goes, all right. And that's sort of a Spo giveaway, is like an all right to start the answer. Like, all right, like what's about to happen? He goes, there's a lot of layers to this. And
right.
Like, oh boy. Right. And he talked, that answer itself was almost 4 minutes long.
Yes.
And the gist of it is, and it's all over Twitter and social media and stuff, but the gist of it is he needs to be more professional. And I think that is a lightning rod term, because this was exactly the concerns that people had with Kel'el when he was coming out of Indiana. And it was something that was followed him from Oregon to Indiana in college, and then that was the concern there. But it's why a lot of people did not think that they would draft Kel'el even at 15, because there were those concerns. He didn't seem like a fit for Heat culture. They took him anyway. They bet on the fact that their culture could get the most out of this guy whose skill set is obviously elite and tantalizing. But I think that we don't hear Spo, to your point, use the media to get his message across very often. And I don't know if it was a matter of a level of urgency from him saying, like, look, he needs to be better, or the fact that he's not technically the coach of this team.
Right.
This was his way to kind of go about it.
Right.
But he did. The fact that he used the media in order to get that message across is notable because he just does not do that. I mean, I think back to like the Jimmy Butler situation.
No.
And
He wouldn't call out Jimmy.
he would not call out Jimmy.
No.
He put his head in the sand, pretended like it wasn't happening, and just like hoped that it would go away. And then eventually he addressed it at very least, but never called him out publicly.
Is there any way that anything Kel'el Ware has done is worse than what Jimmy Butler was doing?
No, but I guess, right, this is the curse of expectations.
It's also the curse of being 21 and you can call the guy out and he's not making max money. I think that probably plays into it. But this was very Riley-esque. As, again, I'm old. I covered Pat when he was the head coach, and he would do this stuff all the time. But I've only heard Spo do it now to 3 players since 2008. Michael Beasley.
Yep.
And it was more couched than this because Spo didn't have the credibility and the leverage that he has now. He didn't have an 8-year contract. He wasn't a 2-time champion who had been to all these finals. Hassan Whiteside and Kel'el Ware. And the reason it's concerning is because when Kel'el was drafted, those were 2 names, as you mentioned, that came up. Was because Beasley would have these sort of episodes where he didn't seem engaged. That irritated Spo. Whiteside and Ware are not the same in this regard. Whiteside went hard, but it wasn't for the team. And that's why Spo used to say, sort of on the side, he works hard, he doesn't work with. Okay? That's not what this is about. We were watching him yesterday. We're watching Ware, and I understand it's Summer League. I understand that he put on 8 to 10 pounds. We've had guys in our network who kind of made excuses for him regarding that, and he may be adjusting to that. But, like, he's not jumping to get rebounds. He's not boxing out to help anybody else. He looks like he didn't want to be here. And it kind of started – I was watching him, and I mentioned this on a podcast that we did this morning. It feels like forever ago. Before Spo Talk, I'm watching him do his warm-ups prior to the game, okay? When you watch Bam do his warm-ups, there is purpose to it. The Micah drill, everything. It's quick. It's timely, okay? And I understand he's had to grow into that, but he did that from the beginning, okay? You watch Ware, and it's like, there's nothing. He's not.
Well, I get back to the stories about Bam, why they drafted him.
Yeah,
they were happy to draft Bam.
Right.
They were so impressed by his pre-draft workout. They're like, we got to take this guy.
Right.
With Ware, I'm not saying that they weren't excited to take him. I don't think that would be an accurate assessment of it. But it was more of like, he's the best guy on the board. Let's take a chance here.
Right.
And this has been the thing that's been following him the whole time. Look, let's just call it as it is, and this is why Erik Spoelstra called him out. He's been bad in Summer League, and he's walked in here with maybe, I don't know if it's a sense of entitlement.
Right.
I don't know if it's the fact that he was playing in playoff games, and now he feels like, why am I playing in a Summer League game now? Whatever it is, but like
Jaime Jaquez was first team all rookie the year before,
and then played his ass off
in the Summer League. I know it didn't pan out during the season, but I don't think they have any questions about commitment there.
Right.
And then the other thing that came into it was, as soon as the Ware question was over with, I asked about Jovic, and Spo's eyes lit up. Like, that he's done, and he even made the comparison. In the Jovic answer, he brought Ware back up again. Yeah. He said that you look where Nico was and where he is now, and that's what Ware needs to get to. And they had some questions about Jovic earlier. Remember, there was the whole thing about Jovic talking to that foreign reporter, and things got mixed up, and he didn't really want to go to the G League and be the 5, and so there was some sense of some entitlement there. Okay, and again, you're dealing with 19 to 21-year-olds. Okay, it is what it is. But I think it's because they feel like they put a lot of attention into Ware. They've basically given him Malik Allen as a personal, instructor. Spo said, I think he's the best big man coach in the league.
Yep.
So, and that doesn't even include the attention Zoe has given to him, Haslam has given to him, and that Bam has paid to him, and Bam has propped him up. And I think I get the sense of disappointment. There's the other factor here too. They didn't trade him.
Yeah. Well, can I stop you there? Because one last thing on Nico. Spo he never called out Nico, but he did say something like, when he's a rookie, look, this guy gets stronger, he's got to get in the gym. Like the things he said about Tyler Hero, a lot of these guys, that's not calling him out, that's just stating facts. But Nico responded to that, got
Yes.
bigger. You can see if you look at pictures of Nico when he was a rookie versus now, it's a different frame, it's a different body.
Right.
Ditto for Tyler Hero, by the way. I saw rookie photos of Tyler Hero versus now. It's a different player.
Whenever they challenge Tyler, he's responded.
Yeah. And that's what I think that they're trying to get to with Kel'el. I think the difference is with Tyler and Nico early on, they saw the progress. They saw the purposefulness in doing that. And with Ware, they're just not seeing it. Some specifics that, like, Spo said about Ware, it wasn't just, like, blanket professionalism. It was stuff like he came up with a new Spoism, at least not one that I heard, which was do everything the way you do anything. Or do anything
It's not new. I'll stop you and I'll go on this. I actually brought it up on the pod this morning, and I predicted he would say it. So I'm going to take some credit for this, because this is his new line.
This is new.
But it actually started he started using it after Team USA last year.
Okay.
Because I asked him in the Bahamas about coaching LeBron again. And he talked about LeBron's work ethic at work. And he said he uses LeBron as an example all the time.
Right.
Do anything. How you do anything is how you'll do everything.
Right, that's it.
That was the exact quote. And when he said it today about Ware, it struck me because literally on the podcast this morning, I said, that's probably what they're thinking. Here's what Heat fans should at least take some comfort in. Heat fans who've been frustrated by the way Ware has looked, the team is with you.
Yeah.
Okay? Like, they're not going to put their heads in the sand about this. And there's one other thing, and then on the other side, I want to get to some of the other things he said today.
Yep.
But the one other thing he said today that I thought really, the attitude he took today, I want Erik Spoelstra to act more like Pat Riley. I want him to call guys out.
Yep.
Okay? He is established enough. He doesn't have to take any shit anymore. Okay? I think that's where we're at. You saw this wear on him last year. Don't throw sand in our face anymore. Don't pee on our legs and tell us it's raining.
Right.
Okay? I understand Spo's way has always been to criticize collectively and privately and praise individually. That's the way he's done it. It's been successful. You're the longest tenured coach in the NBA now, okay? You have 6 more years on a big contract, right? Eventually, he's going to be the face of this organization. I think we all know that. So if that's the case, if you can stand up there and get it. And we watched Kel'el walk out of, and I don't know what he was looking at specifically, but he was looking down at his phone as he walked out of the tent. The message is going to be delivered now publicly as well as privately, and I feel like they felt like it wasn't getting through privately. So sometimes you have to do this publicly.
It's such a great point. And now I'm thinking about it, I do wonder, because we're shifting into this younger type of roster, Spo does have to change the way he approaches coaching it and with the media and all these things. And these young players now who are very online and are very cognizant and aware of how they are portrayed and care about that stuff, maybe they do respond to this stuff a little bit more. And so I think Spo, this might be I don't want to go so far as to say it's a new Spo. This might be a new tool in his toolbox to be like, you know what? I am going to use the media because that's something that I think gets through with this age of player. It does make sense that he would kind of change the way that he coaches, even if it's just a little bit, and maybe takes a page out of Pat Riley's book there. Kel'el was, we were asking Kel'el after the Spo presser too, the little session there, and I can't tell you that I was super impressed with his answers either, where, you know, he was asked point blank, what did you think about these things that he said? And, you know, I think it was either Ira or Anthony kind of paraphrased it to Kel'el. And he was like, you know, I get it. I hear him, but, you know, I'm in my second year. I'm still learning and all these things. If that's the kind of attitude that he has behind the scenes, then I understand why Erik Spoelstra would have gotten to the point of, you know what, it's not enough privately. I got to go and take this extra step of calling him out publicly.
And also, if you're holding him out of trade talks for the likes of Kevin Durant,
yes,
a player that I know Erik Spoelstra was very interested in them going to get,
yes,
you need to hold up your end of the bargain. If you're going to be held up as untouchable to that degree, you need to do that stuff. I also wonder if something else happened in the last couple of days. I get that sense. I don't have a full reporting on this, but for it to escalate to the degree it did, and there were also some whispers today that give me that feeling we may find out more about this. I just think, again, I don't think anybody's saying Ware's a bad guy or anything like that, or that he doesn't care, but there is a certain level that they expect you to get to. And you look at one other thing. Spo was over chatting with us just briefly the other day, or 2 days ago, or yesterday at this point, and asked about Norman Powell. We were just chatting about Norman Powell, and we'll get to him on the other side. We'll talk more about it. But I said something to him. I said, well, he seems like a pretty nice guy from what I've heard. And he said, yeah, but he's got an edge. We like the edge.
We like the edge.
They want these guys. Davion Mitchell was re-signed because he has an edge. Okay, that's what they're trying to bring back into this organization.
What is Pat Riley like? Shields and swords.
That's where they want to get back to. Yes. And Jovic, okay, who I guess we'll talk a little more about. Jovic plays with an edge. Yep. Larson plays with an edge. Okay, big time, and that is shown up here. Deshaun Johnson plays with an edge. They want to get back to that. That team was too soft. The team that finished out last season. They want to change it. I'm going to take a brief break here just so that we can get in our sponsors. So, pause.
Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Summer sports are in full swing, and whether you're all about baseball under the lights, golf on the green, or high-stakes soccer action, FanDuel is the best way to make every game more exciting. You're already following the action. Why not make it a little bit more thrilling? With FanDuel, you can get in on the game while your friends are getting sunburned at the beach. I've been using FanDuel to track my favorite matchups, and the app keeps it fresh with new daily promotions and fun ways to bet. It's so easy to use, fast to pay out, and makes even regular season games feel like must-watch events. Whether I'm placing a same-game parlay or watching a bet ride into the 9th inning, FanDuel makes it feel like I'm part of the action. New to FanDuel, new customers can bet just $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if your first bet wins. Open the FanDuel app today or visit FanDuel.com to get started.
Okay, we're back. All right, that's how we're totally unprofessional here. All right, let's get to some of the other things he talked about. Wiggins. They have made it clear they're not intending to trade him until at least training camp.
Right.
Spoelstra spoke about Wiggins getting more comfortable personally with the organization. I think we felt that being around last year, that he seemed a little bit out of place. He got used to sort of being loved in Golden State. But Spo talked about unlocking some things with him. Do you think he starts the season in Miami?
I do. First of all, if we just want to go to some of the trade talk, look, they're going to listen on trades. We know that. The Lakers stuff, I think it's a lot more Lakers interest than it is Heat interest. Lakers reporters keep talking about, it's going to be Dalton Connect and no first-round pick, a first-round pick, whatever. I don't think the Heat are interested in that trade if they're not getting the first-round pick. They're not. It seems like the Lakers think that the Heat are trying to get off of Wiggins, and that the idea that they would just take Rui Hachimura and Dalton Connect for Wiggins, that's not going to do it. The Heat like Wiggins.
Yeah.
They like Wiggins. They're okay with it.
But there also is the progress stopping aspect of this. Are you concerned about that? They just traded for a 32-year-old, who's always going to be 32 this season. Wiggins is going to be 31 this season. But I guess the question is, whose minutes is he taking, right? Like, would he be taking Larson's minutes, Jaquez's minutes? I mean, if you clear him out, you're bringing in another rotation player probably anyway, whether it's Hachimura or somebody else.
And I don't mean to make the comparison because it's a terrible one, but you remember the old Hurricanes teams, like those loaded Hurricanes teams, right? In the early 2000s, 2001.
Sean Taylor playing behind Ed Reed.
Oh my God.
Right.
And it was just they had 8 tight ends who would just go on to the NFL, and the idea was, hey, if you want playing time, you're going to have to earn it.
Right.
And I do think that there is a level of, hey, we've got Norman Powell here, we've got Andrew Wiggins here. These are accomplished players. If you want playing time, you're going to have to earn it. And I think that's actually good for guys like Jaime Jaquez, who wants to have a bounce back year. Guys like Kel'el Ware, who's not guaranteed anything. Good for Nikola Jovic coming off of an injury-plagued season. These guys need to earn the playing time. So I think it'll just be, I think Wiggins and Powell can play. I think the addition of Powell actually makes Wiggins a better fit on this roster, because now all of a sudden you don't need Wiggins to do as much anymore. He can fall back to more of he can be a fourth option.
Third or fourth option,
right? Depending on where Bam falls into that. So on any given night, right, it can switch. So I think the addition of Norman Powell actually benefits Wiggins. And with Wiggins, once he gets more comfortable, I'd say this all the time, people act like Wiggins was terrible for Miami last year. He averaged 19 points per game, which was
wasn't impact. There was a 42-point game, the 30-point game, and then he kind of fell off towards the end of the season. And
the injuries were an issue.
His numbers were really good. I felt like, and I thought Spo hit on this today, I felt like they were trying to make a Minnesota Wiggins because they really didn't have a choice. Right. And it sounded like today, what you're talking about, what he talked about with Norm sounds like more of a pivot to Golden State Wiggins, where he'll focus a little more on defense.
Minnesota,
a little bit, but maybe not as many actions.
Yeah.
Wasn't a lot of talk about Tyler today, other than Hero and no talk about Bam, by the way, at all. None of us brought him up. He's the given at this point.
Yeah.
But with Hero and with Powell and him feeling they can play off of each other, it sounds to me like the lean in is he's going to start the two of them together.
Yep.
He's going to bring Davion off the bench. Wiggins would be at the 3. I think right now he's got Nico in his mind as his 4. I think that's I know that Bam wants to play with a traditional 5, but if he's talking about Ware and how far he's got to go to get to a certain level of professionalism, he's got a long way to go, and he has to show it publicly now because now Spo has put this out there and saying Nico's doing all the right things and everything like that. And I asked specifically about Nico filling a role for them and what role do you need to find a role. He says he was finding his role. Now, that was off the bench last year, but I still think it seems to me like what makes more sense at the moment is Bam and Nico start and Ware comes off to play with one or the other, and that's your 3-man rotation up there, because it's going to seem like you said, if this is a merit-based thing, you put Ware in the starting lineup, if he looks like this in training camp, you can't do that.
What they're doing, right? Like if Ware's got to earn it, and the thing that you said about Bam is a very good point, because who's the other leader on this team? And Spo talked about this today with Kevin Love being away and sort of no old head kind of in the locker room anymore. Bam has become the leader, and that was the thing that started happening during the Jimmy Butler saga and all that stuff. But if Bam really wants to play with a traditional 5, he will also be kicking Kel'el Ware in the behind in the locker room, saying like, dude, I need you to start. You need to pick it up. So it's going to be coming at Ware from a lot of different angles there. But, yeah, publicly we know Kel'el Ware was held out of Kevin Durant talks. They have not made that a secret. They have made that known. And now you take that with what Spo said today. The whole NBA world knows now where Kel'el Ware stands and what the expectations are of him. And maybe it's not fair to put all these expectations on him as like this quote-unquote untouchable guy, there's all these things. But, hey, that's the deal. That's what you're here for. And I think that I do think that they expect him to respond. I will say that.
Well, they also don't seem to be inclined to put him into trade talks anytime soon, because you don't denigrate an asset publicly right before you're about to trade him. So it seems like there's a commitment to him, but he needs to prove it. There was also no talk really about Davion today. Again, I think it's a given. I'm surprised no one of us asked about him, but it seems like, again, Spo's comfortable with him, wanted him back. He's in there. We talked about Larson. He did talk about Jaquez and maybe focusing a little less on the 3 and getting back to being a downhill player, adjusting to scouting. Not a lot new there, but we'll see how he responds to it. But
he did say that they had a lot of good conversations about that, so you hope that those were productive.
And I think Jaime needs to get out of his head. It was pretty clear last season that he was. The other thing today was him talking about Duncan Robinson, kind of the one time that Spo got a little personal and their journey together, which was not always great, okay? He played Strus ahead of him. He had to have tough conversations with Duncan about that. But, again, to go from somebody who was not drafted, wasn't projected to be anything to being the best shooter in franchise history, it was a tough decision, but it is all part of them moving forward. But, again, Wes, this is sort of where I come down on this, and the Ware stuff's going to get the attention. To me, and maybe it's because it's Las Vegas and he's relaxed and he looks tanned and he was out he seemed relaxed yesterday and he was away for a couple of months, a different environment. He's not at the podium in Miami. This felt to me like an Erik Spoelstra who is taking control of a young team. That's what it feels like to me. He's going to lean on some leadership from Bam. I think Powell, I think Davion is going to become one of sort of the leaders on the court because he's got that personality. But this strikes me as we're pivoting away from a Riley organization, have been for a little while here, even though people don't realize it. I felt Spo stronger on this one. To me, that's the takeaway from this, even more than the Ware thing.
That's a great point, and it you know what it felt like is it felt like a college coach in charge of his program.
Right.
He's in charge of the recruiting. He's in charge of the charity events. He's in charge of the NIL money and where you're going to spend. He's in charge of everything. That's where Spo is now, and he's like, okay, you're going to give me a young roster like this. This is how we're going to approach it, and he does have to take the reins on it. There is no Udonis, even though Udonis Haslam was literally here today.
Well, he was here,
he's on the roster.
But
Rodney
UD
Magruder was here.
Rodney Magruder was here, but UD was working with Kel'el.
He was.
And then also when I was watching Kel'el, there was also a sequence he was working against Golden. It got stripped twice in a row, and UD then came in and took over. in that way. But yeah, you're right. He has to lean. He has to find young leadership on this team. And as a guy who's never met Norman Powell,
Right.
which he's acknowledged that, it seems like he is going to lean into him. And I also think, and I know Heat fans are going to get a little edgy about this one, I think he's going to lean into Tyler in some ways too.
Yep.
It's just complicated with Tyler because you got that money bag that's hanging over his head right now. I'll let you close on this because one thing off of this moment, I know you've done a lot of talking about Tyler on your pod. And I've asked everybody this question who's been on with us lately. I don't think you can max players who are not two-way stars. I just don't think you can in the modern CBA. It's nothing against Tyler or his archetype, which has been traded around the league this offseason. I also think he's an important player, and he's a player they developed, and I don't think you give him away for nothing, and I don't think you make him an insulting offer. I think you come to him with something along the lines of 3 for 105, 3 for 110. If he's not comfortable with that, and he wants to bet on himself into next year, then okay. But if you get the feeling that he's not going to sign ever for anything close to that, then I do think you need to look around. Where are you with it?
We've talked about it on Locked On Heat plenty, but it is a situation now in today's CBA where players like Tyler Hero used to just get the max. They just get it. You just gave it to them, and then you figured it out later. You can't do that anymore. And I think the way to explain it to Tyler is like, look, we want you here. We want you here. But we can't pay you this because of the CBA that and the X, Y, and Z of all of it. But you can offer him, like you said, something around $35, $40 million a year, and you look at where that rate is. That's an all-star caliber player, which Tyler Hero really is, but he's not a two-way player. He's not that top 1% Steph Curry like Kevin Durant like elite offensive player, although he's a very good offensive player. And that's okay. Like to say that you're not one of the best 10 players in the league is a slight. Right. To say that you're not a supermax player is not a slight. To offer you a $10 million a year raise, perhaps, or a $5 million raise, or whatever it is a raise. Like, it's like, look, you could frame it as, look, you were making 25, we're going to give you 35 or 40 or whatever it is, and that's a lot more money. And by the way, I do think Tyler Hero might be willing to sit down and accept it because what I think a lot of agents and players are seeing around the league, specifically people like in Tyler's situation, when you look at what's going on with Zach LaVine and Bradley Beal and some of these other guys who did get that max and then got discarded by those teams, is, look, I don't want to put myself in that situation. I want to be a partner with an organization. I want to stay somewhere. We know Tyler Hero loves playing in Miami, and I think these agents are saying, you know what? We're getting to the point now where these players like Tyler Hero don't just get the money. We are entering a new world in the NBA of actual negotiation and not just slotting guys in salary spots.
But the only thing about that is, though, I'm with you, and that's how they should operate. But agents look at it this way too often. Get as much money as you can.
Yep.
I'll get my commission.
Yep.
If you get traded, I still get my commission.
Right.
You still get your money. And so it really is on the player to say what you're saying. It's on the player to say, look, this is an organization that developed me, has kept me. Yes, there's been trade rumors every single year, but they've kept me. I've gotten better here. I became an all-star here. There's no state tax here. The organization does have a track record of turning things around and winning. It's going to be a lot harder to turn things around and win if he's making 50 than if he's making 37.5. And that's kind of where I'm at with it. Doesn't mean he's not a good player, but that's, $13 million still gets you a pretty decent player in the NBA and more maneuverability and more wiggle room to be able to add to your roster. And it also does make him more tradable, but you don't have to get into that. All right, Wes, appreciate it. We're actually waiting on another summer league game to go, but again, collaboration between Locked On Heat. Maybe we'll do more of these. Should I do Brady and Rammel next? Is that what we're gonna do?
Get them on. See what happens.
I'll see what happens. All right, have a good one, everybody.